guys, thanks so much for tuning into this video. I am Jay Theo, and today I'm going to be talking about my experience of wanting to join a black fraternity in college as a out gay man. So I really wanted to share this story because I feel like a lot of black men, a lot of gay black men desire to join fraternities, and I was someone who was really into the hype. I was really into the Kool-Aid of wanting to be in fraternity when I started college, and even prior to college I put in a lot of work of understanding what was needed to make sure that I could set myself up to be in a fraternity. And once I got to college, a lot of that went to shambles due to my sexuality, and I just want to talk about that experience so that anybody out there who's interested in joining a fraternity, particularly a black fraternity, one that's a part of the Divine Nine, I just want to share my experience, talk through the roller coaster ride that it was, offer any advice I have, and also just talk through how I feel about it now that I'm a 31-year-old who is not in a fraternity, who is not affiliated with anything Divine Nine, and who still feels that he lives a pretty decent, successful life. So with all that being said, let's dive right into it and let's discuss my experience of desiring to be in a black fraternity as a out gay man. So guys, first I want to start with discussing, why did I want to be in a fraternity? Why was that something that was so important to me when I got to college? So if you guys have watched some other videos, I talk a lot about how my desire to really build community and be a part of the black community was super important to me. As I had issues with loving myself as a black person, I felt college was just a great start to really build a community and build a space for me where I was around blackness in a way that was positive and encouraging to me. I did go to all black high school, so I definitely was familiar with black community, but high school was just a lot different than college. In college, there was just a lot more like-minded people that wanted to be a part of a community, that wanted to foster, that shared similar interests and goals when it came to post-graduation and things like that. So I definitely wanted to make it a priority to be a part of the black community in a strong way when I got to college. So part of that was, okay, one way to be a part of the black community is be a part of a black fraternity. And obviously, and at my school, Greek life was super important. I went to The Ohio State University, so it was a very large university at the time. It was always back and forth being the #1 largest and the 2nd largest university in the United States. So even though we were predominantly white school, we were PWI, we had a huge black population. I want to say we were like 6 to 10% black. I don't remember the statistics, but I want to say we were anywhere from like 6 to 10% black. So it was still a decent amount of black students on campus, and it was pretty tight-knit, the black community, which was really cool. But once you got to campus, everybody also wanted to be in a fraternity or sorority. It was just the thing to do. Everybody knew, and it was kind of a way to get popular. It was kind of a way to gain clout in the black community, and everybody wanted to step into the step shows and wear the gear and just have a brotherhood or a sisterhood. So it was something that definitely everyone around you also wanted to be in. So it definitely also influenced my desire to want to be in a fraternity. I also joined the bridge program, so I was really excited to get to college. So Ohio State had a bridge program for minority students, so black, brown, Latino students. We could start school about a month early. We would take classes, we would work with different organizations, we would volunteer, we would learn study habits, we would be able to get one-on-ones with professors to kind of just get a grasp of the university life before everybody else got there. So that was my first step of being part of a cohort, being part of a group of people where we all share something similar. We went through the program together, so there was a lot of brotherhood and sisterhood amongst the bridge program. After experiencing that, it made me want to be a part of a fraternity even more. A lot of my peers within bridge, they also wanted to be a part of fraternities and sororities. And a lot of our mentors in our bridge program, we had bridge buddies and mentors that would come in and help us, and they were our peer leaders, and a lot of them were in fraternities and sororities. So it just was like, if you're black, you want to be in a fraternity sorority, and it's so much of a brotherhood and sisterhood, and everybody who is anybody is in a fraternity or sorority. So it was just the thing that everybody wanted to do. And also, I was an overachiever. So in high school, I was valedictorian. I was president of 2 clubs. I worked 2 jobs. I volunteered. So I wanted to live a similar lifestyle in college. I wanted to be an overachiever. I wanted to get internships. I wanted to be president of organizations. I wanted to be a part of different organizations. So I kind of wanted to mirror that same lifestyle when I got to college. Obviously, that's a little bit harder to do. Classes are a lot harder, and as a first generation student, I really realized that very quickly. But I was a president of an organization out the gates. I was in a leadership role in another organization that was a volunteer organization. I took part in things that happened on campus that involved the Black community. I was an RA, so I was very involved. So I definitely was like, you know what, I want to top it off, and I want to be in a fraternity. Also, as a Black gay man, I feel it also could be a way of where I could connect with other Black men. For me, it was always that I connected with Black women really easy, and I did have members of Bridge program that I was cool with that were men, which was great, but I still always felt like this disconnect with being cool with Black men, and I just wanted to build a friendship and a brotherhood with Black men. It didn't have to deal with me being gay or something romantic behind it. I just really wanted to build a bond with other Black men. I grew up with brothers, I grew up with cousins that I was really close to, so I thought this could be an opportunity for me to kind of mirror that as well in college. So right off the bat, when I got to college, I started looking into which fraternities would I want to join. And I knew from the research that I had done before and the books I already had been reading before that I wanted to either be a Kappa or an Alpha. But sadly, at the time, the Alphas on our campus was suspended. They weren't able to pledge and do any of that. My only option for what I really was interested in was a Kappa. And during the Bridge program, I had mentors that were Sigmas and that were Qs, and they were really great. Like when we were in Bridge program, they used to create parties for us. So like the Qs and the Sigmas would create parties for us just for Bridge because they were former Bridge cohort members and they were our peer leaders. So the Qs and the Sigmas were cool. I just personally did not want to be a Q or Sigma. I feel like I'm meant to be a Kappa, I'm a pretty boy, like I like to dress cute, like I feel like that was my energy. And when I met the Kappas, I really felt like, okay, they're cool dudes, like they had all these events going on, they were very, very involved on campus. So I just felt like, okay, if I'm gonna be a power organization, they are really involved on campus, they got swag, that's what I wanna be. So y'all, I started going to all the Kappa events. Anytime they had a barbecue, anytime they had a party, anytime they had a volunteer organization, I was there. I would walk up to the presidents and the leaders of the organization. I would talk to them. I would show interest in a vague way. When you're showing interest, you can't blatantly say I'm interested. You have to vaguely be like, oh, you have to ask questions and be kind of vague about it. Really, it's a weird way, but you have to show interest, but not show interest in a blatant way. So I did all that. I attended everything. I got the president's numbers. I got the secretary's numbers. I would text them, ask them like where I need to be, what I need to do. So I was very invested, y'all. And this went on for about a year and a half to the point where I was getting invited by the president to secret meetings at night where I would learn more information on what the next steps would be. They would tell me what, I'd better be at this step show and I better be front row and I better speak to this person or this person's gonna be there. You need to speak to them. And so I was listening to everything they were telling me to do. I started meeting other dudes that I knew were interested, and we would talk and we would all go to the things together and we would bond over the fact that, okay, we think we're gonna make it online and all those things. So I was very invested for a year and a half of my life. I was invested in this, and I knew that freshman year I couldn't pledge. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna keep investing into my sophomore year. My sophomore year is when I became an RA. So my life got even more busy. I was an RA. I started taking harder classes. I had to start taking certain science classes that were requirements for my major. So my courses started getting harder, but I still was like, I wanna be a Kappa, I wanna be a Kappa, I wanna be a Kappa. And this was still taking up a lot of time out of my day-to-day on top of working, being an RA, being the president of another organization that was focused on my career field. So it was just a lot going on when I had interest in this. So doing this for a year and a half, and then one of my friends who also had interest in being a Kappa, he hit me up one day and was like, you wanna grab lunch? And I'm like, sure. So we grabbed lunch and he's like, I got something to tell you. And I'm like, what? And he's like, well, Jay, they have had a line. You weren't on that line. They said that they dropped you and others on that line because you were an F word, because I was gay. They dropped me, and he said they made it very known that they're not having any F words on this line, so that's why you got dropped. And I was like, well, then why are you telling me this? Because I'm thinking, like, aren't you online? And he told me that he got dropped because he had a heart problem. He had a heart murmur. He let them know that because, for fraternities haze, and as soon as they let him know, they dropped him. So we both got dropped for things that we could not control. And, for me, it was really devastating when I found out this news as someone who, for a year and a half, was dedicating my existence in college, not my complete existence, but really trying to focus and get in this fraternity and spending all this time going to these meetings, wasting my time volunteering, doing all these things. Not that volunteering is wasting my time, but just taking part in their organizations, events to show that I was interested in, it was really depressing. I ended up having a panic attack. This was one of the precursors to why I decided to go to therapy in college. This was one of the reasons why I did attempt some self-harm, because this was such an investment of my life that I felt like my time was stolen from me. And this was the first time I ever was really discriminated against for being gay. There were other times that I was called the F word when I was an RA, when I was writing people up, which I also addressed that in college as well. But this was the first big time moment that I was getting something taken away from me for me being gay. So it was really devastating for me, and it was a wake-up call for me. It was also devastating because when I decided to go to college, I really wanted to be out and be my true self. I didn't want to enter it being down low in the closet. I did that in high school, and coming out to my mom in high school, I just told myself I didn't want to live in secret anymore. So in the bridge program, I announced to everybody that I was gay. We had to do a project where we had to write a letter to ourselves, and in that letter, I basically said that I was gay. So it was freeing. It was freeing to be in this whole new environment and be out and be gay and not feel like I had to be in the closet. But there were so many other men, which, you know, it was understandable. We were still very young. We were 18, 19, 20 that were still in the closet, particularly in the Black community. There were a lot of members of fraternities that were in the closet. A lot of members of the basketball team, football team that were in the closet. There were so many DL gay men on campus at my school. It was beyond. But those members, those people got to be a part of those organizations because they were not out. So it was really hard for me because it was like, wow, I take really pride in being out and being free. But honestly, me being out really was the reason that stopped me from being a part of this organization. So I am not someone who likes my time being wasted, and I'm not one that plays into discrimination. So y'all, I contacted the national chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity, and I let them know that there was an underground line and that they were discriminating against me for being gay, and that they were also discriminating against other people for medical conditions. So I let them know. The national chapter was very upset. And from my knowledge, you know, the next semester they got suspended, and from my knowledge it was because of my phone call. There was some discussion about I coulda, shoulda kept my mouth shut and all those things, and there was a moment of me looking over my shoulder for a little period of time, but nothing ended up happening to me, and it was the consequence that they had to face. I just don't think it's fair to discriminate against people, especially, you know, as so young. That was just so devastating for me, and it like I said, it caused me to take a moment of self-harm attempt, and I literally had to go to therapy because I was so depressed of how much time and how much energy it took out of my life for me not to even make it online. So that was just something. And what made it even crazier, y'all, the president and multiple dudes I was working with to get on the line was gay. I had friends that were sleeping with him. It would tell me, I'm sleeping with him. I know him. Wink, wink, him. You know what I'm saying? So it was also really very, very frustrating, and it would make me so upset because it's like, wow, I also know that you're down low, you're in the closet, you're gay, you're getting your back blown out basically every other night by so-and-so, and you're the one who's basically saying no F words in the fraternity. So that was really hard for me, y'all, and honestly, it's so funny because I saw the president when I moved to New York. He moved to New York as well, or like upstate New York as well. So I would see him on Gay Tinder, and I would try to match with him. He would never match with me because I wanted to message him. And then I saw him on Gay Hinge in LA, because I guess he lives in LA. Well, he lives in LA now. I saw him on Gay Hinge here, and on Gay Hinge you can respond to prompts. You don't need a message. So one time I responded to his prompt, and I was like, wow, good to see that you're out here living yourself free now. You know, because I'm like, you know what? I still feel some type of way. Not that I'm holding a grudge, but it's just, wow, you're all over Gay Hinge, Gay Tinder, everything. But for me, being gay in college was so rough that I couldn't get on the line. Like, okay. But y'all, it doesn't stop there. Probably about 2 months ago, I was out in WeHo turning up, you know, being my gay self, and I saw this dude at a party. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna walk up to this ex-president of Kappa Alpha Psi, and let him know that I thought it was dirty how he did me. And I literally walked up there and I said, hey, so-and-so, I just want to say I think it's so dirty how you did me when it came to the fraternity stuff. Like, you wasted so much of my time, and I just think that was wrong. I'm way over it, but I see you all the time on dating apps and stuff, and it just makes me cringe that you're out here being gay and free, but for me being gay free in college, that I couldn't be a part of the fraternity. But I'm living my best life. I'm doing just fine, just so you can see that. But just know that it was real dirty how you did me. And he was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I actually wanted you real bad, but you know, the other guys, they just couldn't have it. They just couldn't have it, you know, but I really, really wanted you. Like, let's exchange numbers, da da da. Y'all, and I don't kick it with that dude. We are not cool on any level, but it felt good getting that off of my chest. It felt good addressing him directly and letting him know how wrong he was. And it felt good calling that national chapter and getting them suspended when I was in college. That felt good. You're not gonna discriminate me and waste my time. But with saying all this, I really want anybody out there that is a black, gay, queer, bisexual man that wants to be in a fraternity, keep in mind that you being out could be an issue for you being able to pledge. I know times have changed. I know a lot of gay men that are in fraternities. Most gay men, honestly, I meet are in fraternities. So a lot of guys in fraternities are gay now, but I still think there's still a lot of homophobia. There's still a lot of DL-ness and secrecy when it comes to being queer in these fraternities, just based on the legacy of homophobia within the black community. So I definitely think that's just something to think about if you really are invested in being in one. But I also think too, like, do you want to be a part of something that doesn't really accept you as a whole? If it's supposed to be a brotherhood and they can't accept your queerness, your gayness, is that something for you? In college, I found way more community when I finally gave up the idea of being a fraternity, and when I really focused on queer organizations on campus, fashion organizations on campus, which is something I really was a part of. I also was a part of some organizations that really gave back to first generation college students. So I mentored a lot in college. I was a part of a call center on campus that called first generation college students that were interested in Ohio State and guided them through the process. I found so many more friends and so many more loyal people to connect with through those organizations than I feel like I ever would have in a fraternity. Not to diss fraternities, but there's so much community to be had in college. So if a fraternity doesn't happen for you, it's not the end of the world. Also, now that I'm 31 years old, I feel great with what I've done with my life. I still got a great job in New York. When I got out of college, I've lived in LA. I've traveled the world. I've been front row Fashion Week shows. I've worked for Fortune 500 companies. So at the end of the day, I feel that a fraternity didn't make or break me, and don't let it make or break you. Yes, it was devastating to waste my time and not be a part of the organization, but I still feel like I have become successful in my own right, and it didn't limit me by not being in a fraternity. And you can still find brotherhood and community at other places. And like I said, I would want any queer man, any gay man, any bisexual man to feel like he can truly be himself if he's a part of anything. And don't let anybody make you feel like you can't be yourself, and don't change yourself to be a part of a group. You shouldn't have to change yourself and change who you are to be accepted, to be a part of a group. And that's the advice that I would give anyone. I did have a moment of weakness when I was still in college after the whole Kappa thing, when the alphas did come back, and I did start that process to become an alpha. But y'all, I quickly realized when I started my internship in New York City for a Fortune 500 company that I did not want to waste my time trying to force myself to get in a fraternity and deal with all the gotta be somewhere by 2 a.m. in the morning, gotta go here and do all this hazing stuff. I just wasn't interested. So I met with the leaders and I let them know that I no longer was interested in moving forward in the process. But I was slowly starting the process, which was cool. But I just quickly realized that fraternity just wasn't for me. And there has been moments in my life where I've thought about grad chapters and stuff, but at the end of the day, y'all, I still just don't see what it's gonna serve me. Yes, it could be a community from a black male standpoint, but if they're gonna be black men that don't accept queerness and don't accept gayness, I'm not interested. I think my goal mainly is really to cultivate real community amongst gay men, bisexual men, queer men that truly love themselves, accept themselves, and who really want to see all black men grow in our community, no matter what sexuality they have, no matter what they're attracted to. That's the type of community I want to cultivate, and that's the type of community I feel like that's missing in our community. And yeah, but I definitely think fraternity sororities, if they are on the right side of right and they do right by their organization and they are accepting, that could be a great thing. But in my experience, a lot of the people that joined fraternity sororities in my college were people that honestly were insecure and just needed to be a part of something. Rarely did people who were really confident, who are really involved on campus, actually got in the fraternity or sorority. You know, I do have some friends that are extremely successful and they were very involved on campus and they were a part of sororities and fraternities. But most of the time, I would say 80% of the time, it was people that were like lames in high school. This was their only claim to fame, was being a part of these organizations. So Yeah, so that's my experience with being interested in a black fraternity and being an out gay man. I still don't have any regrets of anything I did. You know, I overcame peer pressure to be a part of an organization. I didn't let anyone try to change who I am. I was discriminated against, and I took my power to take action and to create potential change, and I'm proud of myself for that. But definitely let me know if you are interested in joining a black fraternity. If you are a part of a black fraternity and you want to talk about your experience and if it's been more accepting and welcoming, please let me know. I do have some friends that are in fraternities that are queer and they didn't have a bad experience. It's always been accepting for them. So, you know, I do think that's a little more rare, but if you had that experience, please share. Or if you're somebody who had a difficult experience like myself, trying to be a part of a fraternity, please let me know in the comments. I want us to have a discussion. And any advice you have for other young adults, young college students that are looking to be a part of fraternities organization, please share in the comments. Like I said, I'm not here to diss fraternity sororities, but I'm here to share my experience and talk through the ups and downs I had and how it affected me emotionally and how it really did rock my world when I found out I couldn't get in the fraternity at the time. And but it also, in a silver lining way, was a silver lining to me starting therapy and me working through my mental health. So, but please, I would like to have conversations, so please make sure to drop a comment and share your experience so we can discuss and go a little bit deeper on this topic. And with all that being said, guys, thanks so much for tuning into this video. Please be sure to hit the like button and subscribe if you are liking this content. And as always, guys, do your best to stay safe, stay positive, and I will see you guys on the next video.